All right, let's go ahead and move forward. We'll start by reading our questions, then we'll jump into the text. First question: what were the two opposing views when building a federal government? Second question: when the Constitution was drafted, who were excluded in the definition of the people? Okay, let's take a look at the text. As a group, the delegates had much in common, like the key ideas in the Declaration, but they also had very different views on many issues facing the new nation. The most troubling question of all was how powerful the central or national government should be. Many delegates wanted to maintain the rights and the powers of the states, so a federal government would not get out of hand. Many feared that a strong national government would threaten individual liberty, while others argued to look at the Articles of Confederation, where the central government is too weak, so it cannot do its job of protecting liberty and property. After the American Revolution, all the states had adopted individual constitutions where each had some form of representative government and had expanded the rights to vote and to hold office. The state constitutions helped to shape the delegates' thinking. Despite the delegates' broad agreement on a government of the people, many questions were left unanswered. For example, who exactly should have a say in a truly representative government? Even in liberal Pennsylvania, only free white males could vote, while other states allowed only wealthier citizens to vote or hold office. When women could not vote in any state. To build on that, African Americans were enslaved in the South, and Native Americans were also facing detrimental circumstances. Tempers often flared, and several times it seemed the convention might collapse in failure. But the delegates ultimately found ways to save the convention and the nation. And in closing, what we have here are the three key debates on what guided their discussions. So the first debate is how many votes should each state get when voting? The second debate was how should the enslaved be counted? And the third debate is should a list of specific individual liberties be included in the Constitution? So these are the three key questions that controlled the convention after they establish agreements on how to run their discussions. So let's go back to our questions. What were the two opposing views when building a federal government? So the first thing I want to point out are the underlined phrases. Those are synonyms. You can see that there's a context clue or nationals built in there. So the central government, national government, and federal government are synonyms. They're all the same thing. Okay, so that's important for you to keep in mind. And so the question is just asking what are the two sides when they debate about the federal government? So one side is arguing that the federal government should be stronger because the Articles of Confederation were weak and it failed, right? So one group says the central government needs more power. The other side is saying a strong national government would threaten our liberty. So, that other side is like, hey, remember what happened in England? We don't want that to happen again. So, those are the two sides. They're trying to figure out where is the perfect balance of power for a new central government. The second question: when the Constitution was drafted, who were excluded of the people? So there's a lot of general statements, right? Of the people, for the people. Well, who exactly are the people? Who's getting rights from this constitution? And that in itself was its own debate. But our text calls out some examples of people who are excluded. We have women could not vote, African Americans were enslaved, and Native Americans were facing detrimental circumstances. So we have some key populations called out there. And also, you can see that it refers to free white men. So if you didn't have money in some states and you are white, you might not have been able to vote as well.